Good morning, everyone. My name is Renee, and today we're going to have a special class about COVID vocabulary. It's vocabulary, it's based on vocabulary that we can use, or maybe if we read an article or we hear the news, we won't understand what they're talking about. So here are some vocabulary words that I thought were important. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna share my screen so everyone can see it. So COVID-19 vocabulary. Language is not static, it evolves. And it evolves with every single situation that happens. And this is one example. This is a very good example. There are a lot of new words. There are a lot of words like slang that is not very formal English, but there is also some formal words that I think it's important that we all learn them. So let's go ahead. Good morning, guys. I'm reading your chats. Good morning. Okay, very good. So our classes, our usual normal classes, we have a warm-up activity, then we have reading and vocabulary, we have grammar, pronunciation, and listening. Pronunciation sometimes is a special part of the class, but it is usually something that we emphasize during the whole class. The teacher gives you tips on how to pronounce better. If you say something, if you say something and don't pronounce it correctly, the teacher will probably let you know. Okay, let's get started with the warm-up activity. So, vocabulary, we cannot expect to know every single vocabulary, every single word there is in the dictionary, unless you study something related to that. But even then, I think it's hard to know every single word there is. So there are some tricks, and there is something called context clues. There are a ton of ways of how to figure out what a vocabulary word means, but usually one of the easiest ways is by context clues. We take into account what we are talking about, the subject we are talking about, and what it is being said in the sentence. And by context clues, we can find out what a word means, okay? So I'm gonna ask someone to help me. I'm gonna ask participants. I'm gonna see who wants to participate. Remember, you click on the participants icon, and then you raise your hand, and the little blue hand comes up. If you wanna read, go ahead and raise your hands. You guys are shy. You don't wanna read today? You just wanna hear me read? Come on, who wants to participate? A ver. Nadie quiere participar. No one wants to participate. Okay, you can just hear me. A ver, vamos a ver. Okay, Gloria, go ahead. Gloria is saving the day today.
Ya que nadie quiere participar.
Okay.
Where do I start?
Okay. In December 2019.
Okay, in December 2019, a number of pneumonia cases were reported in Wuhan, Eastern China. Entonces, ahí tengo que completar.
No. Just read okay. The table, and then we'll read the definitions.
Okay. Coronaviruses look like crowns under this microscope. The World Health Organization has told countries around the world to track respiratory infections in their populations. There is currently no vaccination against the coronavirus. SARS was traced to several types of wild animals which were sold as food in markets. The outbreak was stopped by isolating patients. I'm sorry.
Okay. Good, Gloria. Thank you, Gloria, for saving the day. Thank you. Okay, let's see if we have still no participants. Okay, I'm gonna read it then. It says, give me a second. It says over here, let me see. Count how many people have lung and breathing infections. So we're gonna find out the definitions of the words that are underlined, okay, of the words that are underlined, and then we're gonna match them with these definitions. So let's keep on reading. Items worn by a king or queen on their head, usually made of gold to show their position. C, keeping sick people alone so that they cannot make anyone else ill. Medicine to prevent sickness, which is delivered into the body by a needle. Needle es una aguja, in case you guys don't know. People who were sick with a serious disease of the lungs, and the origin of something was identified. Okay, so we're gonna match these definitions that we have over here. We're gonna match these definitions that we have over here with the sentences, and we're gonna do it by using context clues, okay? Before I start, okay, let's see. Okay, still no participants. Everyone is shy today. You guys, you're not morning people. No les gustan las mañanas. No quieren participar. Okay, let's get started then. It says pneumonia cases. By context clues, in December 2019, a number of pneumonia cases were reported in Wuhan, Eastern China. So let's look at the examples we have over here. Count how many people have lung breathing infections. I don't think it's anything. We're not saying here about counting anything. Items worn by a king or a queen. Here we're not talking about something that is being worn. So let's eliminate that one. Keeping sick people alone so that they cannot make anyone else ill. Medicine to prevent sickness, which is delivered to the body by a needle. Doesn't sound like pneumonia cases. People who were sick with serious disease of the lungs, and the origin of something that was identified. Pneumonia cases in this case, guys, is E. Okay, so we're gonna write E right over here. Very good. The second one. Coronaviruses look like crowns under the microscope. So we're talking, when we see looks over here, when we see looks, we're talking about something that we are seeing. It's not something we're feeling. It's not something they're putting in our body. It's something that we see, looks. So I would say it's items worn by a king or queen on their head, usually made of gold to show their position. So over here we have B. Very good. Let me see. Okay. Okay, let's do this differently. I see some of you guys are putting the examples in, are putting the answers in the chat, so let's do that. Number 3, the World Health Organization has told countries around the world to track respiratory infections in their populations. Okay, track respiratory infections. We're talking about keeping count. So what do you think is the definition for track respiratory infections in their populations? Let's see, maybe you can write it in the chat. A, count how many people have lung breathing infections. Very good, let's put it over here. Very good, Daniela. Okay, Giselle, don't worry about it. Okay, very good. There is currently no vaccination against the coronavirus. Again, if we don't have enough context clues in a sentence, we can always use our previous knowledge. Over here, for example, in sentence number 4, we don't have enough information for a context clues. There's not really any clue over here. We just know that it says against the coronavirus. So, but vaccination sounds a lot like, if we take it and sounds like vacuna, maybe we can say, sounds like a word I know, maybe it could be this. You can also do that. And it says, medicine to prevent sickness, which is delivered into the body by a needle. Very good, Karen, you said D also. Okay, let me write it over here. Okay, so we've used, let me cross out the ones we've used. We've used B, A, D, and the first one, did I erase the first one? Okay, people who were serious with a serious disease in the lungs. Number 1 is E, guys. Sorry, I didn't write it down. Okay, now 5. SARS was traced to several types of wild animals which were sold as food in markets. Let's look what's the answer for SARS, was traced, sorry. And in the chat, you're saying F. Very good. the origin of something was identified. So in 5, it's F. And the last one, the outbreak was stopped by isolating patients. It would be C. Okay, keeping sick people alone so they cannot make anyone else ill. Very good. So now we know what pneumonia cases mean, what is crowns, what is tract respiratory infections, vaccine, was traced and isolating. All of these words, guys, are words that we have heard over and over again during all these months that we have been in this pandemic. Okay, very good. Now, let's navigate the pandemic vocabulary. I got this vocabulary from a glossary that was published by Penn Today, and it provides key definitions on context for making sense of COVID-19. So over here we have some words that I thought were really interesting. Let me see. Someone wants to read? Or still no one wants to read? Okay, Patricia. Patricia, you are here to save the whole class. Patricia, are you there?
Hello, teacher.
Hi, Patricia, how are you?
Fine.
Good to hear you. Patricia, could you please go ahead and read what it says for zoonotic disease? Let's see what it says.
Okay. I am so English teacher.
Oh, don't worry, I'll help you. Don't worry. Zoonotic disease, don't worry.
So declares
No, over here, a disease.
okay. A disease caused by an infection agent that can pass
Infectious agent.
between humans and other animals. Diseases
Yes, diseases.
open after student
Suddenly es como de repente. Aparecen de repente.
and can be very harmful since they are unfamiliar.
Unfamiliar, no son familiares.
Okay. To the human immune system.
Very good. Al sistema inmune del humano.
This estimate that
60%, sorry, 60%.
Okay, have no infectious diseases that affect humans. Come from animals with examples including like disease, malaria, and West Nile.
West Nile. Very good. Thank you, Patricia. Okay, so what this is saying is 60% of the known infection diseases that affect us humans come from animals. A good example is Lyme disease. I don't know if you know, Lyme disease is what we get from, I forgot the name, how you say it in English, garrapatas, nos da de las garrapatas. Malaria and West Nile. Very good. Now, outbreak. Let me see. Daniela.
Yes, I'm over here.
Hi, Daniela. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you.
Good to hear you. Daniela, could you please read for outbreak and self-isolation or self-quarantine, please?
Yeah, sure. Okay, outbreak. The same as an epidemic, but occurring over a more limited geographic area. One recent example is the 2019 New York measles outbreak, which impacted several neighborhoods in New York City. And self-isolation or self-quarantine, staying at home voluntarily to help prevent the spread of disease.
Very good. Thank you, Daniela. So outbreak is something that occurs in a certain area. For example, they're giving you an example. In 2019, New York had a measles outbreak. And self-isolation, self-quarantine is staying at home in a voluntary way. Very good. Let's continue. Contact tracing. Let me see. Okay. Sherik Daniela. Are you there?
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Okay, could you please go ahead and read contact tracing? What is contact tracing?
Okay, nobody speak English. Sorry. The
Don't worry.
process, the process used by public health officials to identify people who have come in contact.
To identify people.
To identify people who have come in contact with, with someone with an infection.
Very good.
To go out is to test or monitor all of a patient's contacts in order to track potential new infections and stop the spread of a disease by isolation those who are potentially infected.
Very good.
This process is typically done via interviews to learn about a patient's movements and the people with whom they interacted. Follow-up calls reach those individuals at higher risk of infection to recommend isolation or testing.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so contact tracing is when they find out who you had contact with, and then they interview the patient, and then they follow up the calls to reach people with higher risk. Very good. Next, vaccine. Vaccine. And let me see who wants to participate. Let's see, we have Gladys. Gladys, are you there? Hi,
How
Gladys.
are you?
Good
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay, vaccine. Could you please read for vaccine, Gladys?
Sure. Vaccine, a biological preparation that provides immunity to a specific infectious agent.
Very good.
The preparation is usually made of an inactivated or weakened version of a virus or bacteria, or only contains a portion of the agent that doesn't cause disease. By stimulating the immune system to produce antibodies, a vaccine gives a person immunity to a disease without them having to contract it.
Very good. Thank you, Gladys. Okay, so vaccine is una vacuna. Okay, it's a biological preparation that provides us in case we ever get the virus. There are vaccines for a lot of things, right? It's not just, this is not a new term. It's probably a term that we have been hearing nowadays more often than before. But vaccine is not a new term. It's something that there are vaccines and they have existed for many, many years. Okay, very good. Herd immunity. I had heard this before, but it's very popular now also, herd immunity. I want to make a small, I want to say something with that word herd. Be careful because herd is also oí, hear, but in past tense. I heard you talking. And over here, herd, we're talking about, herd is usually like a group of animals that are together, like a herd of cows, for example, or a herd of sheep. Herd immunity is what we're going to read over here, but they are different things. They sound the same, but they are spelled the same differently, and they sound differently. Be careful with that. In English, we have a lot of those things. Okay, good. Who wants to read? And I am going to ask Jessica.
Hello.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Very good. And you?
Good. Good to hear you. Jessica, could you please read herd immunity and what it means.
Yes, of course. Herd immunity. When enough people in a population are immune to a disease, either by recovering from a previous infection or receiving a vaccine, so that the disease no longer spreads easily. For COVID-19, some scientists estimate that 70% of the population world will need to be immune to achieve herd immunity.
Very good. Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
Okay, that is herd immunity, okay? We've been hearing that a lot. So that is a very common term that we've been hearing. Okay, and the last three vocabulary words I have over here is shelter in place, lockdown, and droplet transmission. Now, let me tell you, all of the words that we've been seeing, even the ones that we saw at the beginning with the warm-up, is words that we have probably heard a lot in Spanish if we hear the news, but these words are also common if you hear the news in English. So now you know what they are talking about. Okay, let me see. Very good. Okay, no one else wants to participate. I'm gonna ask Sharik again to participate for shelter in place. And then Jessica, I want you also to read lockdown, okay? But let's start with Sharik first. Sorry. Hold on. There we go. Sharik, go ahead. Can you please read shelter in place? Are you there?
Shari.
Shelter. Are you there?
And me?
Yes.
Sorry. Shelter in place. Okay. Mandated by government authorities to remain at home except for essential business. Business.
Very good.
Such as buying groceries or taking medical care.
Very good.
To avoid confusion with more stringent orders of the same name, such as those enacted by governments during natural disasters. Some have instead referred to these orders as stay at home or safer at home measures.
Thank you, Sherry. Very good. So shelter in place is the same as saying stay at home or safer at home. It's exactly the same thing, but this is a much more complicated way of saying it. Shelter in place. Very good. And Jessica, are you there, Jessica? Could you please read what it says for lockdown? Lockdown. Are you there, Jessica?
I'm here, sorry.
Okay.
Lockdown, a measure imposed by a government that prevents people from leaving a region in an attempt to control a disease outbreak. This severe approach to infection control used in Wuhan to reduce the spread of the novel coronavirus is also referred to by the French term cordon sanitary. One historical example of a cordon sanitary is the 1793 yellow fever outbreak in Philadelphia, during which roads and bridges to the city were blocked by soldiers to prevent disease spread.
Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
So as you can see, guys, over here, all of these words are words that have been used before, but now we have obviously we have more communication than, for example, in 1793, and they have become common knowledge. And it's more popular for everyone to hear them more often. In 1793, they didn't have internet, they didn't have WhatsApp, they didn't have Facebook, and so many other things. They didn't have probably no information. So they are words that weren't as popular as they are now. Okay, the last word we have, is it the same as curfew? No. No, it's not the same as curfew, Freddy. Lockdown is when they block like a whole part of a city or a town and you can't leave. Curfew is when you have to be home by a certain time. I wouldn't say it's quarantine. No, quarantine is different. Quarantine is when, for example, what we said, let me go back to the slide. Let me go back. A ver, ¿qué se hizo? Self-isolation, so staying at home voluntarily. Quarantine is when you have to stay at home because you are sick, okay? It's not the same as lockdown, because lockdown, you're locking down a whole area. Quarantine, maybe it could be, if it's just you, probably you can do quarantine alone in your house, in your room, right? But they're not locking down, it's different. Very good. Droplet transmission, I'm gonna read that. And it says, droplet transmission is when bacteria or viruses travel within small drops of liquid from the respiratory tract. The droplets are produced by coughing, sneezing, singing, or talking, and can be inhaled by or land on the mouth, nose, or eyes of a person nearby. Droplet transmission can be reduced by using personal protective equipment, including face masks, face shields, or goggles. Goggles are, I don't know how you say goggles in Spanish, como anteojos, pero más grandes. ¿Cómo se dice goggles? A ver, ¿alguien me ayuda en el chat? Someone help me in the chat. How do you say goggles? Lentes? Yeah, that's how you say goggles? No, careta is the face shield. I guess goggles, gafas protectoras. Yes, that's it, guys. Gafas protectoras. Thank you. That's goggles. Goggles are also called what we use to swim. The goggles that we use. Very good, Jessica. Similar to goggles to swim. That's what we call them also, the goggles to swim. Very good. Okay. Droplet transmission, guys, is little drops of saliva that that are produced when we talk, when we're sneezing, when we cough, when we're singing. Okay? I don't think there is a way that we as humans can stop having lentes de seguridad, Kimberly. Thank you. I don't think there's a way that humans that we can stop to produce these droplets of transmission. It's just how we are made. But I've heard this, and don't trust me on this. I've heard if we speak in a lower voice, if we don't scream, the lower we speak, the less droplet transmission there is. I don't know if that's true. Okay, let's see. Monica says, goggles or safety glasses are forms of protective eyewear that usually enclose to protect the area surrounding the eye in order to prevent particulates, water, or chemicals from striking the eye. They are used in chemistry laboratories and in woodworking. Thank you, Monica. Yes, so safety glasses. They're not the same as glasses like the ones I wear. Okay, they're safety glasses. Usually in the past, they would use them in chemistry laboratories. Now it's more common to see people wearing goggles. Very good. Thank you. Now, grammar. In every class, we have to have a little bit of grammar when we're learning a new language. Today, we're going to work about simple present, really easy grammar. But since COVID-19 is something that is happening in the present, I thought this was going to be a good subject. So, structure to use simple present. Simple present, remember, is the verb used in the present tense. Now, not in the past, not in the future, now. So we have the structure suggested over here is subject, base form, plus the complement. Okay, very good. The subject over here, that the examples that are given to us is pronouns. But your subject can be a name, can be a proper noun. You can change this, okay? So over here we have she works well, he works well, it works well. I work well, they work well, we work well, you work well. Very good. Over here, just when we use the S, it's when we have our pronoun is in third person singular. I'm not gonna get into that right now, but that is when it's third person singular and you have the S. Very good. Let's continue. Let me erase what we have written. Very good. Okay, let's go on. Present continuous. We're still talking about present tense, okay? Subject plus the verb to be. Over here, I put the not. We can also have a negative form. And then we have the verb ing. She is eating now. He is not eating now. It is or it is not eating now. I am not eating now. They are eating now. We are not eating now, or we are studying English. And you are or are not eating now, okay? Use the verb to be, then you have the not, and then you have the verb with ing. Last night, I said what the verbs with ing are called. Who can tell me? Let me see, someone who was in the webinar last night. Who can tell me what was the verb plus ing? Do you understand what I'm writing over here? What was it? Let me see. Gerunds, very good, Asael. Very good. A verb plus ing is a gerund. Very good. I'm glad you remember that. Okay. Now we have simple present versus present continuous, and simple present is something that is happening now. Okay. Present progressive or present continuous. Don't get confused. Simple present continuous and present progressive are the same thing. Different words to say the same thing, okay? And we use the present progressive to tell or ask about an action that is happening right now or in these days, okay? Right now or in these days. Very good. Let's continue. How are you guys doing? Still no one wants to participate? Let me see. Okay. Very good. Let me check the chat. What have you guys written? Okay, Germans, Asael was the last one. You guys are quiet today, huh? Very quiet. Okay, now I have a very nice video that I found, and I know these are very hard times. I'm gonna stop the sharing for a second. I know it's hard times. I know we are probably all exhausted about hearing about coronavirus and COVID, and every single time we have new information, every single day we have new things that we read about and horrible things that we read about it. And even for me, I have sometimes thought, what is actually true and what is not true, right? It happens because it's something new. Even scientists don't know too much about it. But I always try to think there is something always to every negative situation we have. There is always some positive that we can get out of it. Either if we learn something new, or if we had an experience and that experience is gonna probably help us give advice to someone we love, then that is a positive. We have to take the positive, a little bit of positive out of everything negative that happens to us, even if it's hard. So I found this video and I didn't want to finish the webinar by just speaking about coronavirus and all of the bad things and all of the negative things and everything that makes us worried. So I want to share this video. I hope you all like it. And after the video, I want to talk and I want to hear you guys talk. I hope you guys will want to participate after the video and tell me what you thought about it, okay? Pronunciation, guys, is not just me showing you slides. It's also, you're gonna improve your pronunciation by speaking. And if you don't speak, if you don't participate, I understand maybe you're shy to participate in a webinar where we are so many, but in a class, you need to speak. and you need to participate. Because if you don't do that, first of all, you're not going to practice. And second of all, your teacher is not going to be able to correct you if you don't speak, right? So I'm going to share the video and hopefully you will like it. So let me see. There we go.
Staggering 8.8 million deaths per year. Long-term exposure to air pollution is also
peaks for the first time in 30 years. COVID-19 lockdown measures have brought significantly. Health organizations are launching an appeal for global action. A recent study shows that this preventable disease accounts for 15% of all deaths in children. Health organizations are
We will push that project no matter what happens. Our production labs are operating at full capacity and our engineers have been working around the clock.
Welcome to the random makeup tutorial. I'm gonna walk you guys out until I had no question in the last one. So I decided to do another one and check the
You've been going from one patient to another, monitoring medical equipment. She's not slept for 48 hours. There's just not enough.
4-year-olds are 5 times more likely to receive early childhood education than the poorer.
Digital divide. And we hope that this will allow people who previously had no way of accessing to
911, what's your emergency? Hello, this is I don't know where to go. Calm down.
2018 journalist and critic was killed after entering a concert.
Readers turned to internet media for information during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Systems and species are shrinking. 3/4 of the land-based environment and about 66%.
allowed us to trace and monitor the COVID-19 pandemic. Next generation sequencing were able to generate a
We frequently travel on those roads. The damage done and
On their lives. The United Nations Secretary General has called for a ceasefire in countries locked down.
Thank you. Okay, so now you guys have to talk and you have to tell me what you thought. Okay, I want to hear you. So let me see. Raise your hands and your, actually in the chat. Let me see. Tal vez es que no pueden levantar la manito. Okay, Alejandro, you wrote great video. Alejandro, do you want to participate? And tell us why you thought it was a great video? Alejandro? Okay, everyone has their microphone, everyone can talk, but I'm going to be calling those of you that I think would like to call. So Alejandro, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I can hear you. Can you tell me why you thought it was a good video, Alejandro?
Well, it's a different point of view, so it's great to watch positive things instead of all the negative stuff that you see on TV every day at all hours. So it's a great bit. It's accelerating. I think it's very positive.
Thank you, Alejandro, for sharing. I agree. It's a different point of view, and something positive has to come of everything that we're living through. So something positive has to come out of this, and we're seeing it already, okay? There are a lot of positive things. So let's try not to focus on the bad. Okay. Thank you, Alejandro, for talking and for sharing with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now I see Daniela. Raise your hand. Daniela, you want to talk?
Yes. Well, I think I agree with you because from all the bad or hard experience, we can learn something good. We can learn how to improve and how to work on those things that we were doing bad in the past.
I agree. Thank you, Anela. I think humanity, we have a lot to learn. Maybe now is the chance to do it. Thank you, Daniela, for sharing with us. Okay, Gladys, I see your hand raised. You want to participate?
Yes. In my opinion, this video shows us a different wave or situations that in a positive way to change the we call normal to a new normal, but everything is it like a video says, everything starts with education, science, and culture.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys, for sharing that. It's true. Everything starts with that, education, science, and culture. And if you were able to catch in the video, we have things, terrible things, that before we would say, that's normal. Something terrible that happens, like they were saying, first time in I don't know how many years, that there are no shootings at school in the USA. That's not normal. That should be normal. No shootings should ever happen in the school, right? So if you saw the video and you were able to understand what it was saying, that's what it was saying. We have to find a new normal. Let me see. Who else wants to participate? No one else wants to participate? No one is raising their hands. So let me see. Selene, you wrote so deep. Do you want to participate and talk to us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Selene.
Hi. Well, it's a difficult situation for us because maybe people doesn't look the reality, you know, about the pollution and kill animals and do wrong things, and they don't see the consequences at the future. And yeah, I think that is very, very important to start with how the classmate says, education, culture, and a lot of things, good habits, you know, that we don't have right now. And that's the key maybe to get a new start. And we are not at the end yet, but maybe it's coming too fast as in we can see it, and maybe we are not doing the enough to change our future. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Selene. Thank you for sharing that with us. Very good. And we have Freddy Badilla. Freddy, you want to participate? You want to share with us your opinion? No? Okay, very good, guys. So it was a pleasure to be this whole week with you. I see some names that I recognized during the whole week, and it was great. I enjoyed every single one of them. They were all unique. All of the webinars we had were unique, and it was great to be here with you guys this whole week. And I hope to see some of you guys in the VLA classes. So that would be awesome to have some of you guys with us.